After the summer break, the Quick Fit British Touring Car Championship is back on the road. We head to North Yorkshire, to Croft this weekend for rounds 16, 17 and 18 of the championship. 5 gone, 5 events still to go. And the annual visit of the championship to the 2-mile Croft circuit always delivers plenty of good racing. The fastest qualifying lap around here stands to Tom Chilton, the lap record to Colin Turkington, a name we'll come to in a moment. It's going to be a dramatic qualifying session, that is for sure, and the closer we get to the business end of the championship year, the more qualifying pole position points are going to count, because Ash Sutton comes here with just a 10-point advantage from Tom Ingram. Dan Camish is third, 2 points ahead of his teammate Dan Rowbottom. You've got Jake Hill, fifth. We'll come back to him in a moment as well. Adam Morgan, sixth. Tom Chilton, 7th, and Josh Cook, 8th. And sadly, Josh is here as a spectator and driver coach, but not as a driver, because One Motorsport has elected to skip both the Croft and Knockhill events, largely due to illness for team principal Steve Dudman. So we wish him well and hope to see the cars back on the track by the end of the season. Now, the qualifying sessions then coming up very shortly. It's that usual quick 6 format. And another element to this weekend's entry is that because of One Motorsport being off the grid, so jumping into the vacated Max Hall Cupra is Stephen Jelly. So he's here, but he has switched teams. Now, there's quite a lot to catch up on, but we'll get to that in a moment. Once we've heard from Tim Harvey and Louise Goodman, who, after FP2, took their traditional stroll down the pit lane.
Well, the BTCC is back in business. Here we are at Croft after the summer break, but we thought we'd pick up where we left off last time with the man who won race 3 at Alton Park. Nice to be back on the winner's podium, Gordon.
Yeah, it was, and a bit very unexpected given where we started the weekend from last on the grid in the first race. So yeah, a bit of a turnaround, but you know what they say, the wet sometimes is a bit of a leveller, and yeah, we started in the right place. No mistakes, and yeah, really thankful to get that one over the line.
Well, they're talking of rain here, at least for race 1 tomorrow as well. Ironically, this Croft is where you won your last race before your little break, isn't it? So happy memories of that.
It is. It kind of sits at a really nice time of the year, because obviously it's the event just before Knockhill in 2 weeks' time. So I'm under that extra bit of pressure to try and get good results at Croft, boost the crowd a bit for the home round in a few weeks.
Your Knockhill PR mentioning there.
Yeah, sorry we interrupted your lunch. I hope it was a cold lunch you were having.
Well, it is now, but yeah, there's a surprise. You thinking about food yet again? Would you like some?
I'm always interested in food. But back to matters of the moment. I mean, it's always good from a driver point of view, isn't it, to win a race before you have a break, because you feel like you've got the bragging rights. You know, that old expression, only as good as your last race, and you can go back with your chest pumped out and, you know, maybe get a few more personal sponsors or whatever, but it's a nice feeling.
It's a great feeling, and it came at a really nice time, because the team have had it's been a tough start to the year, lots going on, and any time something could have gone wrong, it seems like we've been on the negative side of it. So yeah, they deserved that, and it was really important for a bit of a morale boost, but also the catalyst to say, God, we got to keep working, we got to find more performance for the second half of the year. So yeah, we're under no illusions, but we're working at it. We haven't been sat doing nothing for the last kind of 4 or 5 weeks. Just hopefully gets us a little bit closer to where we want to be week in, week out.
Well, obviously, spurred on from that, the elephant in the room for your first half of the year performance has always been straight line speed. Have you been able to find something? Because there's a lot of 100% throttle around this track.
Yeah, I mean, there's an engine freeze just now, which makes it very, very difficult to change the hardware components. But, we spent a lot of time with our engine partner to try and make sure that we're actually maximising every single bit and ounce that we've got, got in it. And, that has been the focus. Inevitably, the faster you go up the straights, the better it is. You look in free practice 1 today. I think the top 8 cars are all, I think there's 6 Hyundais and 2 Fords or something like that. So there's no interlopers. And I think that's where it's difficult. You're right, it is going to be tricky round here. But there's also a lot of corners, and the little crawler's pretty good in the corners and some of the tight corners. So we'll do everything we can, as usual, to make the best of.
Well, you'll certainly get 100% behind the wheel, so good luck this weekend.
Enjoy your lunch. Hope it's not too cold. A great circuit this is. I mean, as Gordon was just saying, Hyundai's out there this morning. We're going to wander up, and hopefully Senna Proctor will still be waiting to have a chat with us. But Tom Ingram, his teammate, was the man to beat so far. I mean, half a second faster in that second practice session. We saw that last time out at Alton Park as well, didn't we? a massive gap. Not necessarily going to translate through, but it's a bit of a worry for the others.
I mean, it is a worry. We are always a little bit careful about what we read into free practice, because they can be on carryover tyres, they could be on soft tyres, they could be using the hybrid, or rather the boost. Must get back into boost, using the boost rather, which they can't use in qualifying due to their championship position. So you're never quite sure. But the fact is, there are so many Hyundais and Fords up there. You know that they're just rolling those cars out the truck and they're fast, which is great from a driver's point of view, because you haven't got to do too much looking for pace. But the car's just inherently quick.
Well, I can see loitering to have a chat with us, the man who was second on the timesheets in that second pre-practice session. Senna Proctor, come on in and join us. Yeah, we're good. How are you? That was a great practice session, wasn't it? P2.
Yeah, it was a strange one, that one, because I kind of went out, did the lap, and went slower than FP1, so it was a bit confusing. But you know, we sat there P2 and we stayed there all session, so it was one of them things. The lap felt good, but I wasn't sure if the time was going to be competitive or not. But I think just the track increasing in temperature just affected the pace a little bit. So I think we're in a good place going into quali, and yeah, looking forward to it.
So does that mean you're going to be looking for a few changes in quali just to get that pace back?
It's you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. Because if we make some changes and then we slip down the order, are we just chasing the track, or are we actually, is the pace okay? Obviously, we've got Tom, who was quite quick in that one, as he always is. So we've got that to go study, and we'll look at the differences in the cars, and we'll make a decision from there.
5 Yorkshire boys on the grid, so there's a bit of bragging rights to be had this weekend, isn't there?
Yeah, it's always been a circuit that I love coming to, and I've always gone quite well around here, so just looking forward to carrying on that form into qualifying, and I've just got to get rid of my teammate, Mr. Ingram, and try hurdle in front of him, but yeah, I'm sure he'll have something to say about that.
Well, you've got a bit more boost to use for around here. Where are the best place to deploy it?
Can't tell you that, Tim. Out the chicane's very powerful on turn 3, and out of tower and out the last corner. The last corner from almost a standing start is probably one of the most effective places, and it's even so setting up the first qualifying lap, where everyone's going super deep and coming back and deploying as best they can on the end of the lap to try and not carry on to the start of the lap. So there's a lot of tactic and a lot to think about, and it's going to be an exciting qualifying, that's for sure.
Terrific.
Well, yeah, have a good session, and let's just quickly wander up on the note of qualifying to say that there's one driver. We'll have to be seeing whether he is actually taking part in qualifying, because as we're filming now, just after FP2, Tom Chilton, huge stunt in that session. If you have a look in, you can see his car is in a bit of a state. So all hands to it there in the garage, trying to get that car sorted for the qualifying session. Fingers crossed he makes it out.
Yeah, well, the Accelerate boys know what they're doing. It looks like they're repairing that rather than taking the whole clip off the front and replacing it. I mean, a lot of stones in the car going through the gravel. It's a difficult one here, because turn 1 is a corner you really have to commit to. Obviously, it's the start of the lap, so you push it a little bit harder when you're on your soft tyres than you perhaps would do any other time. It's an easy place to go off.
Good stuff. We will update you on whether that car is out on track at the start of the session.
Louise, thanks. Now, there is another story that we need to catch up on, and it's to do with James Dorlin, because the local driver had a drama in FP2 as well. Tom Chilton wasn't the only man in strife at Clairvaux Corner. This is James Dorlin's assorted views. You can see him at work. You can see the view on the left-hand side from the front of the car. Same kind of impact, really. Goes down towards Clairvaux, gets to the braking zone for the corner, turns in. There's the curb on the inside. There's a little bit of dust hanging in the air, but he runs wide, and bang, into the tyre barrier goes James Dorlin. And that car, I think, has been made good. There was a lot of work being done in the last few minutes. Now, let's have a quick look at, based on free practice 2, who is in the first group. Tom Ingram, Aaron Taylor-Smith, Gordon Shedden, Dan Rowbottom, Dan Lloyd, James Dorlin, Dan Camish, Mikey Doble, Dexter Patterson, Stephen Jelly and Max Buxton. And if you're thinking, that graphic's rubbish, they put Colin Turkington's name on that, they don't know what they're doing. Colin Turkington did drive in FP2. Jake Hill is not very well, and Colin Turkington subbed for him in FP2. Now, there's the car. Louise has more news.
I do indeed, and unfortunately bad news. Jake Hill will not be taking part in this qualifying session, so it's just 3 of the BMWs out. Dick, just explain to us, first of all, what is Jake's problem? He's not feeling very well, is he?
No, he wasn't that well last night, but he has The Toka doctors had a look, and he's got a viral infection. So for Jake's sake, it's best he stands down and takes 2 or 3 or 4 days to hopefully get right for Knock Hill.
We saw Colin out in the car in FP2, and theoretically speaking, Colin could qualify and race that car for you, but the team have elected not to do that. Just tell us why.
Yeah, we took a team decision to withdraw the car because we chucked Colin in the deep end. He hasn't sat in a car since April. He did a fantastic job, but the main thing is that it was very short notice, and with the 10-minute qualifying, you know, it's very tough to show his hand, to help the team, to help Laser Tools. So it was a tough call. We said to him after 3 laps he could come in and jump out, but he stayed in. But the main thing is that Jake gets better for Knock Hill. That's the main thing. But we thank Colin for his help because, you know, we chucked him in the deep end to see how he. But it's also then to give Jake more time to see how he felt. So.
Okay. All right. Thanks for updating us, Dick. Bad news for the team. Some good news to update you on, though. Tom Chilton's car is fixed. He is taking part in qualifying.
Good news. Louise, thanks very much. And that's one for the history books, because not only did Colin Turkington drive the car within FP2, but after the Tom Chilton-induced red flag, Jake did get in and do a couple of laps. So how often has a car been driven by 2 different drivers in one practice session? We may well come back to this in 25 years' time as an Anorak point.
Well, in actual fact, drivers were queuing up to have a go because Josh Cook, as you say, is here because no One Motorsport. I've got my helmet in the car as well, so I think there were quite. Jade Edwards obviously could drive. Yeah. There were a few of us knocking on the door at BMW, but I'm actually very disappointed that Colin Turkington isn't doing it. At the end of the day, Colin has heaps of experience in that BMW. He was on pole here last year. He's won 15 races here. If he couldn't get in and grab that car by the scruff of the neck and get a result, I'm very disappointed. I can only imagine that Wesso Racing didn't want to pay him enough money.
I'm disappointed they didn't ask you. Would have had more cake.
I'd have had to pay them.
Yeah. Now then, let's get into Q1, because the first group is on track, as you can see. We ran through here expecting to see amongst them is Dan Camish there, kind of the qualifying king. He's the only driver to have more than 1 pole position, although he, having led the Goodyear Wingfoot Award, just lost that championship advantage last time out to Tom Ingram. But Dan, as I say, the only driver with 2 pole positions, always very, very rapid. He comes here this weekend not only effectively to a local circuit, but 3rd in the championship. He's been a race winner this season, and he's got to be a good bet for pole position.
Yeah, no, he should be, because as we know, the boost available in the to the cars is commensurate with your championship position. So he's got a bit more boost than Sutton and Ingram for sure, and the car is naturally fast, so he's a contender. But the pace we've seen already from Ingram, and don't forget at the last meeting at Alton Park, Ingram was on pole by half a second. You know, it's going to be someone that bets against him doing it again.
Now that's Dan Rowbottom in the other Napa Racing UK Ford Focus that we've got in Q1. Dan was benched for 15 minutes in the first free practice session for exceeding track limits. He and the team claim that it wasn't him doing it at the corner that was notified, but anyway, it was all done and dusted. He had to sit out that part of the session, and we'll see what he can do here. Track limits around Croft, though, is always a factor, but the good news is we're not looking at tyre stacks everywhere. A lot of it's being policed by television pictures.
Yeah, not yet anyway. The rule always is now that they don't put the tyre stacks up to start with, but if the drivers abuse it too much, they can come back. Yeah. I expect to see several transgressions in this qualifying session, but personally, of course, I'm delighted not to see a dangerous piece of furniture in the middle of the road, in the middle of the track.
Now about to venture out on track there, number 19 Toyota, Max Buxton, who is the son of Danny Buxton, former touring car racer himself, but now the director of motorsport at Speedworks. It was here at Croft back in 2003 that Danny made his touring car debut, and 22 years later, Max makes his debut. He's been very rapid in Ford Fiestas. The plan, I understand, was always that he would be in the car at some stage during the year, even if it was only to do testing. But the fact that he could test within racing and therefore learn about racecraft and race day processes and go through a whole race weekend only sort of fast tracks that learning curve.
Yeah, you know, it's a big ask for him because he's very limited in his experience, despite being a front runner in the Ford Fiesta ST150 Championship, so proving he's got speed. But it's a massive ask to jump into one of these, and he has had a couple of tests at Stetson and at Pembrey, but even so, it's a big ask, but a great experience and a great way to learn. You're better off learning now. If he is in the car next year, he'll be a lot further forward in his development at the first race next year than he would be if he hadn't driven it.
And the jury is out as to which is the more nervous, Max or Danny at the minute, as absolutely on the ragged edge, Tom Ingram. And look at this, 2 purple sectors. Dan Rowbottom has done a 1:21.044 as the target time, and Tom Ingram is looking rapid here then as he comes up again towards the hairpin, and this ought to put him up to the top. He has been fastest within the 2 free practice sessions then, a 1:20.361, being the better of his 2 session topping times, and that lap he's going to be a 1:20.790. James Dorlin's had a lap taken off him for track limit abuses.
Yeah, well, we know Ingram could go quicker, but whatever you might think, and he's already lost that for track limits.
Correct.
He has. Whatever you might think about how good that car is, when you see Ingram on a fast lap, there's no arguing. He is absolutely getting 100% out of that car.
Absolutely right. And there was much discussion about the legality at Alton Park. Well, 1 or 2 tweets were made for Sunday, and the cars continue in that vein. They're not different, I understand, from how they ran at Alton Park on the Sunday. So Tom Ingram, we know, was dynamite quick there. Remember, just to go back to the point, this is 10 minutes, and only 6 of these 11 will progress, and we're down to 3 minutes already as a lap is disallowed for Stephen Jalley. This is Gordon Shedden, winner last time out, and the fact that we've got the Toyotas up near the pointy end of the FP2 times is really encouraging.
Yeah, it is. We have both 2 Toyotas, him and Aaron Taylor-Smith and James Dorlin. That's 3 actually well up in free practice, and despite them still complaining about lack of straight line speed and the fact that there's a lot of 100% throttle here, they were still well up on the pace.
So the fastest time, Dan Camish. He normally goes pretty well around Croft. Tom Ingram then goes quicker still. It was a 1:20.933 from Dan Cam. It's a 1:20.856 from Tom Ingram. And there is number 132, James Dorlin's Toyota. That has yet to do a time. So at the moment, the 6 that go through are Ingram, Camish, Rowbottom, Taylor Smith, Buxton and Shedden. But you need a lap out of Dexter Patterson, his new teammate Stephen Jalley, this man James Dorlin, Dan Lloyd and Mikey Doble as well.
Yeah, good to see James Dorlin back out. We saw the accident in free practice, so easy to do with a slightly cold rear tyre.
As Tom Ingram then remains the fastest, 1:20.856. That's only 77 thousandths up on Dan Camish. In terms of boost for this session, Tom Ingram has 3 seconds a lap, Dan Camish has 5. Dan Rowbottom is 3rd in the times, and he's got 7. So actually, the further down the order you go, the more boost they have, perversely. Tom Ingram then the fastest, and we've got 90 seconds and counting of this session to go. So now, pressure time.
Yeah, need to get across that line if you're going to get that last lap in at 1:20. You don't get many laps in 10 minutes, especially once you've crossed your tyres over.
James Dorlin hard at work as he comes up to the line. His last lap was disallowed, so James Dorlin, I fear, may miss out. He will get one more crack at it, but you can't keep giving away lap times. Tom Ingram has done, then he's fastest, and he's coming into the pit lane. As you look there at the Dan Rowbottom Ford, coming up towards the right-hander of Tower, goes through that fast right, back onto the power, and then the speed builds yet further through the Jim Clark S's, down towards Barcroft. Rowbottom is 3rd. Now Dan Lloyd 6th. He's the one on the bubble as across the line goes Aaron Taylor-Smith. He's 4th. He'll get another lap out of the session. Gordon Shedden was 8th, but he's up to 4th. He displaces Taylor-Smith, and that pushes now Patterson out. The next one to improve is Taylor-Smith. He goes back up to 4th. So Dan Lloyd 6th is the one on the bubble. Shedden is out now because he's just lost that lap for track limits.
Oh dear, but it's so easy to do. A lot of the transgressions are coming at either turn 5 or turn 11. Turn 5 is the exit of the chicane, or through the chicane, what you might call straight after turn 3. And turn 11, in actual fact, is sunning out.
Right, the checkered flag is imminent. Dan Camish heading up towards the line as you look at Dexter Patterson at Tower. He's 7th. But he has got to find just about 7/10 of a second to get back into the top 6. That's going to be tough. James Dorlin goes through, but only is 8th. Gordon Shedden's the other man to watch, but actually he's down in sector 1, so I'm not convinced that's going to work for him. Dan Rowbottom has lost a lap for track limit offences. And here is Dexter Patterson, wheel lifting into Sunny in, then Sunny out, obviously the next right, and powers his way then a little bit wide, kicks up the dirt, coming up now towards the complex and then up towards the hairpin. Ingram, Camish, Rowbottom, Taylor, Smith, Doble, Lloyd, looks like the 6. Gordon Shedden has back right off on this lap. Dexter Patterson flicks the car into the complex.
Yeah, Dexter Patterson on the exit of Sunny out, getting the wheels on the dirt, but he won't lose the lap time for that because it's not a place they check track limits.
And it's not a quick lap anyway, I'm afraid to say, because it's yellow sector, that means slower sector, and Dexter Patterson goes by as we have Patterson, Dorlin, Shedden, Jelly and Buxton as those that miss the cut. The last man to take the flag is going to be Dan Rowbottom, but he is third in the times and he's not looking as though it's going to be an improvement on this lap. That's James Dorlin then, 8th fastest. He'll be a bit frustrated with that after recent good pace. Yeah, he will, and Rowbottom aborting that lap. I'm sure he's been told he doesn't need to complete it, so get back in. So Ingram, Camish, Rowbottom, Aaron Taylor-Smith, Mikey Doble and Dan Lloyd through into the second part of qualifying. So 1 minute 20.856 is the best time of that group. Not quite as quick as they were doing earlier on, but Tom Ingram then does go through as the fastest in Group 1, as Tim has just said. That's Aaron Taylor-Smith making his way back to the pit lane. And Aaron Taylor-Smith finishing 4th within that part of qualifying. The main aim, of course, at this point is to keep within the 6, keep progressing. It's not being slow rather than being absolutely flat out. So as the drivers come down the pit lane, Group 2 gets ready to go, and that means we can have a quick look at the order at the end of the first part of qualifying. Q1, Group 1, Tom Ingram fastest by 77 thousandths from Dan Camish, Dan Rowbottom 3rd ahead of Aaron Taylor-Smith, Mikey Doble 5th and 6th Dan Lloyd. Those that miss out: Dexter Patterson, James Dorlin, Gordon Shedden, Stephen Jelly and newcomer Max Buxton. Those are the drivers then in order at the end of Q1. Right, the Jake Hill story. Who better to explain more than Jake himself? He's with Louise.
Yeah, and I was in the garage with Jake watching that session. Never a good feeling, is it, when you're watching qualifying that you should be out there driving in?
No, it's not ideal, you know. I mean, it's just massively upsetting, you know. I mean, it's the last thing I want. I'm just so sorry to everyone at Laser Tools Racing, MB Motorsport. You know, we come here with high hopes, and I'm just not fit to drive.
You don't look as though you're fit to be drive, to be fair. So it is the sensible. It's the only decision that can be made, really, isn't it?
It's the thing. I mean, you know, you look at me now, you probably think, oh, it doesn't seem there's much wrong with it, and I'm not sick or anything like that. It's just, you know, there's an issue with my balance, with my ear, from an ongoing ear infection I had in the summer break. And it's just meant that when I'm out there on circuit, I'm not safe. You know, it's all my braking distances are moving, and there's some weird stuff going on. So, and it's all just linked down to what's going on in my inner ear. So, yeah, the safety team, Toka safety team, have said I can't drive, and so unfortunately that's what it is. And now it's just a case of, you know, getting me fit and healthy, ready for Knockhill.
Well, sorry that you're making the journey back home earlier than it should have been. All I can say is enjoy the show tomorrow, and hopefully we'll see you fit and well back in Knockhill.
Yeah, thank you everyone.
Let's go.
So big shame that we lose Jake Hill, big shame that we don't see Colin Turkington either. Group 2 already on track. Let's just remind ourselves who we have. Senna Proctor, therefore second fastest in FP2. Chris Smiley, Tom Chilton, so very Hyundai based, those three. Ash Sutton next, then Aidan Moffat, Daryl De Leon, Adam Morgan, Sam Osborne, Nick Hamilton, Charles Rainford, who was quite a long way back in FP2, and Nick Halstead. Those are the drivers. And the target time, if you like, 1 minute 20.856. That's where you need to be. That's the Ingram time. Yeah, and although that's 0.4 of a second slower than free practice, the track temperature has come up massively, and the air temperature has come massively, so they're losing engine performance as well. And they may go quicker, but that's still underneath the qualifying record, actually, by quite a bit. So, and that was set last year by Tom Chilton, although he didn't actually set the pole, because he did that time in the first qualifying of the quick six, but didn't make it through to the end. It was actually Colin Turkington that was on pole in the end. One or two of them, of course, bailing for the pit lane at the end of the outlap to do the tyre cross. That means that the BMWs of Daryl De Leon and Charles Rainford and Aidan Moffat will stay out. And also staying out, I noticed Chris Smiley in the Restart Racing Hyundai that went very well at Alton Park. And Chris Smiley with a third place as his best race result of the season.
Yeah, of course, he inherited that third, didn't he, when Ash Sutton decided to play the game and drop back to fourth in order not to start race 2 on the hard tyre. And it paid off handsomely for Ash Sutton because he won the second race. I wonder if we might see some games like that, because we have got rain forecast for Sunday, and it may well be that if that rain is delayed and maybe coming at the end of the day, there could be some games for people trying to not run the hard tyre and end up on the wet in race 3, just like happened up at Alton Park.
Depends a little bit on which forecast you believe, doesn't it? Some forecasts are saying it's going to rain in the morning and stop by 9 o'clock, but hey,
yeah,
who knows?
Tom Chilton stayed out as well. Remember, that car's just been rebuilt, so it might be a little bit of a shakedown test, doing an extra lap before they absolutely go for it, but they haven't got much time to dilly-dally because the clock is ticking. There is Tom Chilton exiting Tower on the run down to the Jim Clark S's. Absolutely flat out on a flying lap, but just clipping the inside as close as you can get to that marker board, and then down to the stunningly fast Barcroft sequence where you're braking on the turn, the car is hopping and skipping. You try and get it all done before you come off the brakes into sunny 1 and just hope the car rotates on the right line.
You can tell it was off the road earlier because the livery doesn't quite match on the left and the right, does it? Through goes Aidan Moffat, who's had a rather tough time this year, in fairness. He has yet to get through into Q2, so fingers crossed he can get there. He's a far better racer than he qualifies, but it was here, was it not, that he had his 1 pole position in the championship going back many years?
Yeah, and you know, had this been last year, for example, on a hot day with soft tyres, we'd all be saying those BMWs are flying. This has traditionally been a fantastic BMW circuit, but things have moved on, despite the fact that the BMWs now have been given a 15-kilo weight reduction from this meeting on. I'm not sure that's going to help them as much as if they've added 15 kilos onto the front-wheel drive cars, but politically that was never going to happen.
Yeah, the BMWs have been on Ozempic or something, haven't they? They've got lighter all of a sudden, yes. We'll see whether it's going to really matter much as Senna Proctor then comes up towards the end of the lap. At the moment, Daryl De Leon has done the notional target time, but it's way off the pace of a proper flying lap, so we can kind of discount it. Senna Proctor then, third generation of Proctor racer at Croft. Not only did he, his father Mark used to race in the BTCC, of course, his grandfather Tony was very successful around here in his Rallycross Ford Capri with its Cosworth engine going back a long time. So Daryl De Leon then will come up towards the timing line and he will do a 1:23.7. Aidan Moffat's done a 1:22, but we need to be in the 1-minute 20s then. And Charles Rainford does a 1:21.6. Out of the pit lane comes the Restart Racing Hyundai in the background. That was Chris Smiley's car, so he pitted a lap later than the other front-wheel drive cars, which might have been clever in as much as it means the pit lane's a bit emptier.
Yeah, it's more about how he feels the tyre balances when he swaps those tyres over to put the warm rears on the front. On board with Senna Proctor, down to those Jim Clark S's we talked about. The car moving out, beautiful line through there. Now into Barcroft, clip that inside curve, on the brakes, the car dancing, you can see it there, just rotating a bit, but that was perfect. It actually rotated very nicely for him to get on the power and get a good run through sunny out, and not surprisingly, some purple sectors coming up.
And he's got to try and beat a 1:21.4 now from Ash Sutton with 4 minutes to go. So let's stay with Senna Proctor as he's coming out of the complex. Then that short run up towards the hairpin where he brakes hard, goes into that left-hander. Sutton, Rainford, the top two at the moment. Where does Senna Proctor blend into it? Anything better than a 1:21.4 puts him up at the pointy end. He comes across the line, he goes fastest, a 1:21.105. Good effort.
Yeah, good effort. Not surprised, he's been on the pace all weekend. Next lap might be even quicker.
Except that lap disappears for, yeah, you guessed it, track limits. So as you work, Sutton the fastest, Rainford second, Moffat third, and Senna Proctor has to do it all over again as you look at the Yorkshire driver hard at work here.
Yeah, that was, Proctor was in turn 11, that's sunny out. We saw that on he had a good entry to it, but obviously ran wide.
let's have a look as through the Jim Clark S's he goes at Senna Proctor here. This is the run down towards Clairvaux.
Is he going to knock the marker out? Yes, he is. Nice wide line into there.
Bounces up the curb, runs wide, and rides the curb going up towards Hawthorn. Yeah, either knock the marker out or demolish it, depending on your point of view. But this lap for Senna Proctor, as he comes up towards the completion, has a personal best and a slower second sector. But Chris Smiley has done an absolute best in sector 1, and here he is. So Chris Smiley absolutely on a mission then in that Restart Racing Hyundai.
But Adam Morgan has now gone to the top of the times with a 21.29, effectively a 21.3.
Adam busy last week. Racing the Mini at Alton Park. Senna Proctor now goes fastest on a 1:21.075, 2/10 up. So Senna Proctor goes fastest, and we are having a lap taken off Darrell de Leon. Where does Chris Smiley go then? It was a personal best in the end in sector 1 as others have gone faster. It's an absolute best in sector 2. Chris Smiley breaks the beam and goes second fastest then. Chris Smiley 71,000 shy of Senna Proctor. Here in the meantime is the charging Sam Osborne.
Yeah, so we've got Hyundai first, second and third in this group at the moment. Sutton in the Focus fourth, but 2.5 tenths off. Remember, Sutton as championship leader has the bare minimum of boost to use, just 1 second, which goes up to a maximum of 15. 15 seconds round here is worth an awful lot of lap time, at least half a second, possibly more.
That last lap of Chris Smiley is disallowed for track limits, so he doesn't have a lap time. He's the only one without a lap, and we've got just under a lap time now left in the session, so he's going to have to really push. As you look there at Tom Chilton going by, and Chilton is now the fastest, a 1:21.000, repaying the hard work to rebuild that car.
Yeah, he was massively over the inside curve there at turn 2. I don't think he'll get away with this lap, but if the last lap stands, he'll be okay. It's the lap times disallowed are coming through thick and fast. We've got Smiley's lap disallowed, and also the last lap from Adam Morgan, yes.
Disallowed. So Adam Morgan in trouble. Under a minute of Q1 then to go. Chris Smiley goes across the timing line. But that didn't look that rapid a lap, but it was good enough to be 7th, but that's not good enough. He's got to find another couple of tenths to make sure he's in. This is Nicholas Hamilton. He is 10th. Nick Halstead is 11th, but 7th is Smiley, ahead of Moffat, who looks sadly as though he's going to miss out. Nick Halstead has slowed right down coming through the complex. Nick Hamilton has slowed down as well. I think that's their session done. So Tom Chilton, the fastest at the moment, comes up towards the hairpin. This is number 22 of Chris Smiley, and he is over at Tower, but he's down in sector 1.
Yeah, I mean, Smiley's got a quick enough car to do this. He needs just a clean lap, a quick, clean lap. He doesn't need to take liberties with track limits. The car's fast enough to do it.
Even if these aren't green sectors, just getting into the top 6 will do him. It's not about being blindingly fast. That's not going to help. That little lock-up flag out. This is about not being slow. Get into the top 6. Progress.
Exactly. Get into the next session, and then you can have another go at it. But not getting through because you've exceeded track limits. And he's done a time that was quick enough. But he just exceeded track limits.
So he is 7th. Charles Rainford is now 6th. And the margin, Rainford to Smiley, is 41 thousandths of a second. We're talking tiny, tiny fractions as ever. So here is Chris Smiley up towards the line then. His last lap was a 21.6. These sector times have been slightly down, but if it's a really good last sector, it might work. And the answer is no, it does not. He stays 7th, and Chris will kick himself for that.
He will. He'll have to put that one down to his own driver error, because, of course, when the tyres are freshly swapped over, and don't forget he did an extra lap before he swapped them over, so he took a bit of wear out of them then. That's when they're at their peak, and you really need a banker lap first before you start exploring track limits. But he chose to push it to the max and got excluded, and then didn't have the tyres or the pace to do a clean lap and get through.
Aidan Moffat's had another lap time disallowed, and I think just about everybody now of pace has taken the flag, with the provisional order being Chilton, Proctor, Morgan, Sutton, De Leon and Rainford to progress to the next part of qualifying. Senna Proctor then 2nd fastest, 75 thousandths down on Tom Chilton, who makes his way down the pit lane, and so far it's looking very promising for Hyundais again, isn't it? So Tom Chilton is topping Group 2. So now remember, we get 12 cars going into Q2. Ingram, Camish, Rowbottom, Taylor, Smith, Doble and Lloyd from the first part of the session. Chilton, Proctor, Morgan, Sutton, De Leon and Rainford from that second group of cars. Let's just then remind ourselves of the order and the times. Tom Chilton's lap exactly 1 minute 21 seconds to the 1000th, ahead of Senna Proctor, Adam Morgan third, Ash Sutton fourth, Darrell De Leon fifth, and sixth going the way of Charles Rainford. It was Chris Smiley seventh then, just missing out ahead of Aidan Moffat, then Sam Osborne. Nick Hamilton was 10th and Nick Halstead struggling it seems. He was 11th and he was a second and a half off Nick Hamilton's pace. So Nick seemed to slow quite early towards the end of the session. It was odd, but anyway, Nick having an unhappy time, it seems, in qualifying. It was here he made his touring car debut, wasn't it, all those years ago when he subbed for Rick Parfitt. But a tough day at the office for Nick Halstead. The fans, meanwhile, enjoying this glorious North Yorkshire sunshine and basking in it over on the banks that look out over the circuit. Pretty much wherever you watch from Croft, you can see quite a bit of the circuit. It's on a sunny day like this, a really great place to watch motor racing from. And they'll be looking at 12 drivers stepping forward very shortly, going into the second part of qualifying. There is Chris Smiley's car heading through those technical checks. In the background, Nick Hamilton arrives in the pit lane. So that's Chris Smiley's session done, sadly. 7th quickest and missing out then. So we're going to have Q2 underway very shortly. And going to be fascinating as we get 12 and we have to whittle that down to 6. This is always the really interesting session, isn't it? Because some big names disappear here.
And everybody's fast in this session. Everybody is fast, just trying to get through into that top 6. There you see Dan Camish doing a bit of visualization, just shutting his eyes, thinking the lap through in his head, everything that he needs to get right and concentrate on. Don't do track limits here, brake here, things to take advantage of. He'll be running through that in his head, and he's more than capable of sticking it on the front row. He can certainly get through into the final 6, I would think, but based on what we've seen so far, the Hyundais do look fast, and Ingram set the fastest time out of those 2 qualifying sessions.
Indeed so. A quick shout for Darrell De Leon, because that is only the 2nd time he's got as far as Q2, so it might be a tough day for BMW collectively, but well done Darrell De Leon. He's been a race winner this year, but he's not necessarily been all that fleet of foot in qualifying, but he's made it into Q2 along with Charles Rainford, so the 2 BMWs. There is Colin Turkington in the background talking to Aidan Moffat. He's been doing some driver coaching with Aidan this year, so Colin having a funny sort of day. Turns up to coach, ends up driving a car, then goes back to the bench for the driver coach.
Well, he got offered the drive. He
Yeah.
he could have been racing. But Colin likes to do his preparation. He likes to have everything in order. He gets everything very set up, does a lot of pre-race work and preparation, and he clearly felt that he couldn't just jump in and do the job without doing that.
Right, we will very shortly have the green flag. It's happened just now to get Q2 underway then. And it's surprising, isn't it, how many seconds are lost as the cars try to wriggle their way out of a very, very busy pit lane. So 10 minutes on the clock. Some are still arriving, even though the rest are making their way on track. So 12 cars we have. We'll get into the meat of Q2 very, very shortly, as they will have to come and do an outlap. In some cases, they'll be back in the pits to cross the tyres. That context, the front-wheel drive machines will be expected to do that. The rear-wheel drive cars will stay out. So Sutton, Rowbottom, Camish, Ingram, Morgan, Proctor, Doble, De Leon, Rainford, Taylor Smith and Lloyd are out on track. There's one other to still join the party, and I think it's Taylor Smith is there, but one driver that is going to have to be a spectator for the remainder of qualifying. Just missing out through that quick 6 is Chris Smiley. He has found Louise though.
Yeah, so frustrating. Chris, the car was so quick. Track limits.
I don't believe that it was track limits. That's being honest. Yeah. I've done the same thing all day. And, you know, you go out in qualifying and it's all of a sudden what you've been doing all day has changed. I'm miffed. If I look through it and I'm wrong, but yeah, in my opinion, I don't think I am.
So frustrating, because as you know, you've got a quick car underneath you.
Yeah, it's just, you know, the problem is that, you know, it's a moving target over here, and it's in some guy's opinion whether you're in or you're out, and it's just unfair. You know, yeah, we've got the pace, we should be up there, but yeah, in my opinion, the track limits, I wasn't out of them, so yeah, need to look back at it and see, but from where I was sitting, it was I was shocked whenever he told me because I was being extra careful. But yeah, it's such a shame. You know, the car's been fast all day, and yeah, it's going to be fast tomorrow as well. I suppose that's the only good thing.
I can see your frustration. I'll let you go. But as you say, quick car for tomorrow. We look forward to the fight back.
Yeah, and you can tell that frustration is there. Now, of course, Chris Smiley will say, well, I didn't do anything wrong. There is video evidence, but equally, there might be pictures, but it's still a human eye looking at the pictures and interpreting that.
Yeah, but you know the system is working pretty well, and the cameras don't lie, and they're looking at so many incidences. They know what's fair and what isn't. But trust me, as a driver, you're always going to say that I didn't commit an offence.
Oh, sure, yes. Now here is then Tom Chilton, fastest in the second group.
Notice how he takes a very wide line there before starting a fast lap. It's to open up the corner and get a really good run onto the start-finish line.
Ash Sutton rejoins the session then, having done that tyre cross. We've got 10 minutes and we're down to 7 of those minutes already. And this is when the pressure really starts to ramp up, doesn't it? When you get 12 drivers and go down towards 6. We're going to lose some big names. There'll be some surprises in this for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. But anyone getting through absolutely deserves to. I think we know some of them that are going to go through, as long as they don't, as long as they get a clean lap. But you're right, there'll be some big names that drop out of this, but they'll still be in position 6 to 12 on the grid.
Yeah. Nicely in midfield with lots of cars around you, lots of jeopardy. Yeah, that's some solace, isn't it? Well done, Tim.
Jeopardy here at Croft. No.
To the timing line there comes the Charles Rainford BMW, another race winner this season. The BMs stay out, the rear-wheel drive cars, they don't need to cross the tyres like the front-wheel drive contingent does. So Charles Rainford hustles through Clairvaux corner. He's gone well here in the past in Carrera Cup. You kind of forget, actually, that it's Charles Rainford's rookie season in the British Touring Car Championship, because he's certainly adapted to it very nicely.
He has, coming from Carrera Cup, where he was a race winner. He's really gelled very well with the car. Of course, he had that fantastic breakthrough win at the car's best circuit so far of the year, Brands Hatch, earlier in the year, where a hot day and resurfaced tarmac and rear-wheel drive friendly circuit combined to make it 3 BMW winners on the day, and flatter only to deceive really in terms of performance over the balance of the first half of the year.
Yeah, we used to say Croft was a BMW circuit, didn't we? But maybe the jury is out after the resurfacing a few years ago here. Charles Rainford hustles on. He's done an absolute best within that first sector, but so what? Because so few lap times have been offered up, it doesn't really compare against anything.
But the lovely thing is, it's a hot day, they're on soft tyres. This is when the cars are absolutely at their fastest. They're in qualifying spec, be that geometry-wise, be that engines wound up to the absolute max. This is when the driver really can enjoy, you know, pitting himself against the circuit to find the absolute limit.
Soft and hard are the tyre compounds available. Hard is the option for the weekend. There are 4 of those. There are 12 softs to use tomorrow, as Charles Rainford then fights the car through Hawthorne and then has to sort of find the line for the quick flick through the chicane. In the past, we've had those tyre stacks there that have caught people out. Nicholas Hamilton had a big whack against one a few years back, you might recall. Here is Ash Sutton hurling the Ford then up towards the complex, comes through the left into the right, short burst up towards the hairpin, and Ash Sutton then here making his way into the braking zone for the corner. This is a proper flying lap, so let's see what he can do. The time that he's aiming to beat, of course, is 21.2 of Charles Rainford. Dan Rowbottom goes by, and now Ash Sutton puts himself at the top with a 1:21.204. This is Dan Rowbottom, forgive me, he has not yet gone across the timing line, but he's about to, so he comes out of the hairpin. People are being warned about track limits, I'm afraid, at turn 5. Over the line goes Robo, goes fastest, 1:20.987. That puts him top for now.
Yeah, of course, he's got a lot more, a bit more hybrids used than Ash Sutton has got, who's only got 1 second. Robo's got 7.
Pound in the square box, hybrid, boost. Oh, I'm going to be a millionaire by the end of this.
Actually, twice today I've been Louise in the pit road walk, but we have had a few weeks off, you know.
That's true.
Get back into it.
A lap time taken off Daryl de Leon here, so he can't be doing that. You can't, in 10 minutes, you just can't afford to throw laps away.
No, but it goes back to that fine balance I was talking about pushing to the absolute limit and overstepping the mark.
You're riding on board here then with the Ford. This is the
Dan
Camish car, yeah, coming up towards the complex. And as I say, qualifying king in a sense, double pole winner this year. And although he's based in the south these days, it's the notional home circuit for Yorkshireman Dan Camish.
Left foot braking, you noticed. Almost all the drivers left foot brake here, well as all the circuits. Let's see what his time is as he comes up to the line. It's his first real flyer, and he goes second on a 21.0.
Interesting lap back, because it was personal best, absolute best, but he ended up 43 thousandths down on Dan Robotham, so there's more to come from Camish. We know he's good, so keep your eyes peeled for a better lap time as Tom Ingram comes up towards the line. Robotham has had a lap taken off him, not for the first time today. Ingram goes fastest, 1:20.873.
Virtually identical to what he did in session 1, an 8.5 that was, so very close to that, with the absolute best in the first and last sector.
Right, Ingram, Robotham, Camish, Lloyd, Proctor, Rainford is the top 6. Or if you want to know who misses out, De Leon, Sutton, Doble, Morgan, Taylor Smith, Chilton, and we've only got 2 minutes to go.
Oh, well, here is Sutton. Did you see how much of the inside of Barcroft he took? Literally just took half the car across the inside. This is absolute, half the car across the inside and sunny in, but it's only sunny out that track limits are turning, but he's already been done for track limits.
At turn 5, which is what, coming out of Tower. So Ash Sutton here, heading up towards the end of the lap.
Turn 5 is the exit of the chicane.
Ah, right, sorry, yes. So that's before Tower.
His Tower's actually down as turn 6. Sometimes the naming of corners could be sort of the left and right.
Yeah. Right, Sutton goes through. We'll see whether the lap counts. This is what he was doing at the bottom end of the circuit. Right up, not only on the curb, but on the grass as well. That's brave as well. That's a quick bit of circuit.
It is, but there's very little weight on the inside wheels there, because all the weight is on the left-hand side of the car. So you can take that shortcut if you like.
Oh. So that's turn 5. That looked okay.
That looked okay to me, but...
So the last lap was deleted, and more people are transgressing. Turn 11 has just been the corner for Senna Proctor, so he's lost a lap time. That going over the line is Mikey Doble, who is up to 5th fastest now, just quietly beavering away with this.
Good effort, Mikey Doble, as always, getting the max out of his Power Max Vauxhall.
Is he the great overachiever of the championship?
Yeah, quite possibly. Yeah, and the team.
Yes,
and the team. Yeah. You know, if you hear how much the top teams have spent on engine development, aerodynamics, sheer infrastructure, you know, for a team like Power Max to be delivering the results they are is absolutely fantastic.
Now here we have Aaron Taylor-Smith still pressing on. Ash Sutton has just come up on our timing screen for another lap at turn 5. Now, looked all right to us, and that's maybe
is that not the one that was up there before?
Possibly, possibly, but I thought they would have cleared it by now. Anyway, it's still on the screen, and now we're being told about Charles Rainford being in the hot water department for the exit of the chicane, and you're looking at Aaron Taylor-Smith, whose lap is slower anyway, and he's 7th. He's got to find 22 thousandths equal Chilton's time, and I can't see that happening. Tom Ingram then, a 1:20.873 is the fastest. The flag is out. Ash Sutton's had lap 6 disallowed, yeah, so it's 2 in a row.
Yeah.
And yet it looks all right to us. However, there is Sutton, and he's still pushing. But right now, he's 11th. Now, race 1, 11th on the grid. Ash Sutton, that'll be quite tasty.
Yeah, it certainly will, won't it? Everyone else bailing to the pits, but let's watch Sutton through here again. His engineer, Tony Gross, would have told him where to stay on the track, but again, it looks like he was well across the inside there.
What's interesting about this is he has a big slide at sunny in, is that we've seen in the past Ash Sutton does break track limits and then he winds it back. But here, he hasn't, for whatever reason. He's had 2 laps in a row taken off him.
Yeah, and he will know which corners it is.
Well, this lap, I'm afraid to say, doesn't look like it's going to really help him very much, because both sectors 1 and 2 have been slower. It might be fractionally faster, but he's got to find a big chunk of time to vault into the top 6 at the expense of Tom Chilton. So here he comes up towards the line, and Ash Sutton, 11th at the start of the lap, is 11th at the end of it.
Yeah, that's not the qualifying he wanted at all, is it?
No, and what that gives us then now is Tom Ingram then as the fastest, and he will go into Q3, as will Dan Robotham, as will Dan Camish. So Hyundai, Ford. You've got Dan Lloyd progressing, another of the Hyundais. You've got Mikey Doble in 5th, and 6th, Tom Chilton. There is Dan Camish, 3rd in Q2, but he'll make it into the final part of qualifying, and will be one to watch. Daryl de Leon lost another lap right at the very end. Those that miss out then: Aaron Taylor-Smith, Senna Proctor, Charles Rainford, Daryl de Leon, Ash Sutton and Adam Morgan. So the cars will make their way back to the pit lane. You're riding on board coming down the pit lane. Senna Proctor arrives at his garage, and the teams, if required, go to work ready for Q3. See how busy the pit lane is, how crowded it is. It's a small pit lane at Croft. So the order at the end of Q2, with 6 progressing to the final part of qualifying, is Tom Ingram by just over 1/10 of a second from Dan Rowbottom, Dan Camish 3rd, Dan Lloyd 4th. You are allowed in if you're not called Dan, evinced by not only Ingram but Mikey Doble and Tom Chilton. They will go through into Q3 as well. Those that miss out: Aaron Taylor-Smith then. He will start 7th ahead of Senna Proctor, Charles Rainford and Daryl de Leon. Then the 2 surviving BMWs share the 5th row, and Ash Sutton on row 6 with Adam Morgan. Already, it's an interesting grid.
It is an interesting grid, but going through into the top 6, you've got 3 Hyundais, 2 Ford Focuses and the lone Power Maxed Astra of Mikey Doble, reinforcing, as you said, what a great job he has been doing. Excellent crowd here on this Saturday. Obviously it's school holidays and the weather's been excellent, and we always get a fantastic crowd up here in North Yorkshire anyway. I'm sure it'll be sold out tomorrow.
Senna Proctor then in replay out of the car, being congratulated by the team. A job well done. And we get ready then for Q3. Dan Lloyd, incidentally, making it into Q3 for the first time this season. So a good effort, perhaps making up for the disappointment of Chris Smiley missing out a little bit earlier on. So there's a few moments of calm before the field is released, ready for the final part of the session.
And Dan Lloyd also, he was a bit of a doubt about coming back in the second half this year, because he lost a big sponsor, yeah, right. Not through any fault of his own, and he had to really work hard to replace that sponsor. In fact, he's replaced it with 5 smaller sponsors. He works ever so hard outside of the car. If anyone of you watches DLTV, his own channel, you'll see just how much effort he puts into it. So he's rewarded those investors straight away, and well done, Dan.
And on home soil, it's here he had his first ever touring car win. It's been a pretty kind circuit to him over the years. Tony Carosa there, talking to Ash Sutton. This is one of the great double acts. And Ash Sutton, though, only 11th, but they'll reflect on that and come out fighting for tomorrow's racing. And of course, we know that as the day moves on and the results dictate the amount of boost you have, then results can certainly come out of nowhere. But for now, it's a frustrated Ash Sutton. The crowd that have been treated to a busy day of racing and qualifying have got more racing to come after BTCC qualifying, but they've got a final 10-minute stanza still to come.
Yeah, the body language there of Ash Sutton was very reminiscent of what Chris Smiley was saying, wasn't it? Bit of a shrug of the shoulders, you know. I did the same thing I did all the way through free practice, and I can't understand it.
And the team have been querying all these track limits during the day. Malcolm Swetton, the team manager, has been asking, can I have a look at the footage and try and show the drivers where it is that they're losing out? Because they're all saying,
we don't know.
Wrong.
No.
Anyway,
if you have a painted curve, you don't know where you're getting it wrong. And in fairness, the visibility sitting very low in these cars is really hard.
And again, we're talking millimetres, aren't we?
Yeah, and if it's a flattish curve, it's not even like you can feel where the edge is.
Yeah, true enough.
So I do have some sympathy.
Alan Gow.
This man won't have any sympathy.
No, no sympathy at all from Alan Gow, talking to Alan Hyde, the circuit commentator, and Alan Gow perhaps pontificating upon the track limits, or, is my system working well? Because
no, he'll be discussing what he's going to have for dinner, probably.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah,
right.
probably. Yep.
So, looking across the circuit, we've talked about Ash Sutton. Right, he can explain exactly what happened. Louise?
Yeah, frustrating session for you. I mean, 1 second you knew you were going to have to hang it all out to get through, but you just hung it out a little bit too much.
Yeah, smallest amount through turn 5. Obviously, tyre stacks have been disallowed this weekend, so obviously that's a positive, but maybe I was just a bit too greedy on that one lap. But yeah, I'll be honest, we've been struggling with pace, if I'm honest. Since FP1, FP1 looked really good, and FP2 we struggled. And then it looked like we were struggling, and randomly out of nowhere that lap time comes. So sort of scratching my head a little bit with where that pace has gone and how it suddenly come back for that one lap. So yeah, we've got to do some digging. We're not as happy as we want to be, that's for sure. So yeah, we'll do some digging and hopefully come out fighting strong.
I mean, it looks like an interesting day tomorrow. Rain for race 1 and then clearing up afterwards. So that opens up all sorts of possibilities from a strategic perspective, doesn't it?
Yeah, 100%. If it does rain, then we've got to look at what, obviously, tyre and stuff we want to allocate and whatnot. So, yeah, we'll see what the weather's doing. Could have been a little bit better today, but we'll come back fighting tomorrow and put ourselves back where we need to be.
See you out there.
Yeah.
So a very frustrated Ash Sutton then. We'll start from row 6, but it's going to make race 1 interesting. And as Louise has just touched on, the weather is a little bit up in the air for tomorrow. We have no idea if the rain's going to come or really when, depending on whose weather app you want to believe. This is Tom Chilton then, one of the 6 for this final part of qualifying. That's Mikey Doble, who's had a pole position, of course, in the past. He's now a touring car race winner as well. And as we were saying earlier on, continues to sort of overachieve in the Power Max with Motor Parts Direct, Vauxhall Astra. Comes through the Jim Clark S's, down towards Croft, and starting to build up then for a flying lap. Rowbottom, Camish, Ingram, Doble, Lloyd, Chilton, the order they left the pit lane, and Tim, who's your money on?
Ingram.
Okay, simple as that.
It is Ingram for me. One thing we don't have any rear-wheel drive cars, no BMWs in this final 6, so we're not going to have a BMW on pole position. That's why we were able to chat for a little bit with Ash, because there was nobody doing any lap times. They were all doing tyre warming and crossing. So here we go, Ingram into the pits.
Yeah. Sign of the times, though, isn't it? You know, we used to come here talking about Colin Turkington as the king of Croft and expecting BMW victories, and they used to come almost like falling skittles, and now none in the top 6 in qualifying.
Yeah, and I mean, had things stayed the same as they were last year, they probably would have been right in the mix, but the whole change from losing the hybrid, changing the weight distribution in the car has really upset the BMW. They've also got some engine issues in the sense that the mapping on the engine, their car is Neil Brown prepared engines. The mapping is a lot less smooth as it was last year, but they can't go back to last year's because the hardware in the engine is actually homologated and they can't just go back. They need to do some more engine testing before they can work out a balance to make that work.
Well, on the positive side of all of this, Dan Rowbottom looks like a different driver this year compared to last, and he there goes into Clairvaux. He's also been hit with track limit abuses early on in the day. Well, this is the session in which you can really ill afford to do it. You're into that final 6, but you want to be as far up the grid as you can be. Rowbottom's going to be the first one to keep an eye on in terms of a time. Yeah, that corner there, the left-hand part of the chicane is turn 5. So it's not on the exit, it's cutting the curb on the left-hand part of turn 5. And if they go too far over to the left, that's considered track limits. It's not the actual exit, it's the curb. As Rowbottom comes then through the Jim Clark S's and down towards Barcroft, a little bit of a quiver from the car, but he sorts it out. He's always been a brave driver as Rowbottom. He has. I mean, in fairness, he was the king of getting track limits infringements earlier in the year, but we know when he strings a lap together, it's very fast. Number 32, turn 5 track limits. Number 32 being Dan Rowbottom. Right, okay. And we did see it. We actually saw it. It was the first time we'd seen a camera shot straight into that chicane, and I did think he was being a bit cheeky with that limit. Right, so although this is going to be a rapid lap, you can ignore it because it's going to go by the board. So attention then turns to Dan Camish, in contrast, who's making his way up towards the line now. Rowbottom goes through, and the laps are 1:21.8, but I'm anticipating it's going to disappear. Over the line will come Camish in a moment. Yeah, Rowbottom time disallowed, so that has indeed been taken away. And we've only got 4 minutes on the clock, as we keep saying in these quick 6 qualifying sessions. Time now watch. Just that part was fine. Camish had his left-hand wheels on the curb, but if you go over, this is going back to Dan Rowbottom, and you see how the car jumps on the bumps as you get on the brakes there. Front-wheel drive car, 80% of the braking is all done at the front, and it's as the car goes light at the rear. But yeah, that was a good shot of the chicane. And Rowbottom again, that's the car dance its way through the Jim Clark S's down towards Barcroft, then heavy braking for Sonny in. You can see how nervous that car looks. But so far, he's being able to get it by the scruff of the neck and wring a time out of it, although Camish behind has gone even faster within the first sector. So a Rowbottom lap will give us a benchmark with 3.5 to go. Now, again, we've got this message about turn 5 track limits.
for Rowbottom.
Yeah, so that was okay. So.
Well, the shot we saw was Camish. It wasn't. I thought it was Camish, and then we showed a replay of. Could be wrong. I'll bow to your commentator skills, David.
Don't think so. I'm pretty sure Camish was so far behind he'd only just got over the line. But let's see. Rowbottom goes over the line. Lap disallowed.
Yeah, I thought so. I think Camish's lap is good, though.
Right. Over the line goes Dan Camish. He goes fastest. 1 minute 20.789. You're spot on. What a good lap it was. Dan Lloyd goes through in second. 1:21.593.
Well, that lap by Camish is the quickest lap we've seen so far in qualifying. So it's a strong lap.
What about Tom Ingram? Fastest, 1:20.522.
No, the big guns are out now.
They are, and Tom Chilton's done an absolute best in sector 1. There he is, going through shot. So Chilton's worth a look. We've got 2.5 minutes to go. Mikey Doble now in strife at turn 5, the chicane for track limits, and his lap is going to be disallowed as well.
Well, it doesn't matter. You know, the worst he can do is be 6th. It's still a great result.
Now, what about Chilton here as he comes up towards the end of the lap? He's into the complex. He's managed to buy himself lots of clear track space, hasn't he? I know there's only 6 cars on the track, but even so, there's nobody to get in Chilton's way. Last year, he was quick early on in qualifying and then started to play around with things and dropped away late on. Here, though, he's looked quick all the way through the session, but he's in trouble for track limits at turn 4, which is the first part of the chicane. Over the line goes Chilton, and he loses the lap. He was fastest, but he's lost the lap.
Well, now is the time to throw caution to the wind. You're in the top 6 anyway, so you might as well go for it.
Now, Dan Lloyd, I think, was another one who was under investigation, let's say. Now, Tom Ingram, turn 5, track limits. Ingram goes to the top. That's Dan Lloyd going through. Loses the lap. Yeah, goes back down. He was third, goes back down to 4th.
Camish on his last lap set the fastest last sector of everyone, but it wasn't actually quicker on his lap.
So Doble doesn't have a lap time. Chilton doesn't have a lap time. You can argue that the worst they can be is 5th and 6th, which might be where they qualified anyway. But even so, the frustration is that
Doble has the quick time now. He's 3rd.
Yeah, just crossed the line, goes the fastest. And that should stay, shouldn't it? Rowbottom's got another track limit warning at turn 5.
I did say he was the king of track limit warnings for earlier in the year, didn't I? But he's got through into this top 6 without committing an offence, so it's all gone back to plan, hasn't it?
Yeah, he's lost a few lap times, but he has at least made it through, as you say.
Yeah.
King of track limits, that's being damned with faint praise, isn't it? Now, Tom Chilton has just gone by and tries to get a lap on the board and is 6th. Though Ingram, Camish, Doble, Rowbottom, Lloyd, Chilton. That's the order.
Lloyd's just lost the lap for track limits.
Correct, so he's back down to 5th.
So this lap won't count.
Let's see, as Rodney bails. Oh, dear me.
He was told on the radio, I think, quite late, and thought, well, there's no point now in doing another lap. I've had the best out of my tyres, so I'll take that.
He's 5th on the grid. What the heck? Yeah. So he'll make his way down to the scrutineering area.
There's only really Chilton that could go quicker.
That's Dan Camish then, 2nd fastest, missing out by 0.267 of a second, but a front row start. That's good. This is Tom Ingram, who has backed right out of it on this last lap. So Tom Ingram will take the provisional pole position. That is his 2nd of the season. So he had one at Alton Park and another one here on the back of it. So good qualifying pace from Tom Ingram, and that is
Chilton is still on a lap. Here
career.
He comes flashing the lights as he comes up into the final complex. Not sure why the lights were flashing. There's absolutely nobody in front of him.
And he's not improving in the sectors either.
No, he's not.
Dan Rowbottom is still hustling on. Does Chilton go for the line? Yes, he is. So he goes through. There's another turn 5 track limit warning for Rowbottom. So Chilton goes up to 4th in the end. He was worth staying at. 1:20.938. Rowbottom goes by, and he does 1:21.4. It was slower anyway, and he's probably going to disappear from the system. As I was saying, Tom Ingram then taking pole position, and that's a 12th of his career as Louise heads to go to find drivers for us at the end of the session. That last lap of Rowbottom's was disallowed, so he ends up 5th. So provisionally, Ingram, Camish, Doble, Chilton, Rowbottom, Lloyd is the order of the top 6. So let's have a look then at the times. Tom Ingram, a 1 minute 20.522, 0.267 of a second up on Dan Camish, and Mikey Doble is third. Tom Chilton takes fourth ahead of Dan Rowbottom and Dan Lloyd. Really good effort by Mikey Doble, one of his best qualifying efforts of the season, and once more proving that Vauxhall Astra is still very competitive. But equally, once more, a frustrating session in so many laps being disallowed for track limits. And yes, the officials will say, well, it's down to the drivers. They are the ones going wide, but it is a frustration to see the order constantly shuffling with times being disallowed. Through the scrutineering checks then will go Tom Ingram's Team Virtue Hyundai, the Accelerate Run car, and behind the Dan Camish Ford queues up as well.
The irony of this whole track limits thing is that you could be centimetres, millimetres wrong at the chicane, which is a completely blind, unsighted corner, that you really can't measure that accurately, and you lose your lap time. But you can put 3/4 of the car on the inside of the track at Barcroft, and that's legal because they're not looking at that corner. Now, if it's a rule, it should apply everywhere. Otherwise, don't try and enforce it, because what difference is it making? It seems completely ridiculous to say we're going to enforce this rule, but only do it on a few corners and, you know, potentially ruin the whole qualifying session. If it was just the same for everybody, then let them get on with it. But you know, you can't really condone a car literally half the car across the road, 3/4 of the car on the inside of the track, breaking a rule in the Blue Book, but say that's allowed because we're not looking at that corner.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense to me, and that's my gripe with the track limits rule that's been introduced. The only way they can solve it is to put tyre stacks in those places to stop you doing it. But that introduces the risk element and the damage element.
Yeah.
It's a rule that I've said years ago is not fit for purpose. And just because it's in the Blue Book and you try to enforce it in the places you can, doesn't mean it works. And there endeth.
That's thought for the day with the very Reverend Tim Harvey. Yes. Right, Tom Ingram then managed to keep a lap that was good enough to be the fastest. It's another pole position, career pole 12. And Louise is poised, I think, ready to have a word with, no doubt, a very happy Tom Ingram, who can start on pole position for race 1 here at Croft.
I am poised, and I'm poised with a trophy, your first trophy of the weekend, Thomas, the Goodwood Wingfoot pole position award. So that's a great one to have, isn't it? It's not the one that you ultimately want, but it's a great one to be starting with.
It's always a good way to start the weekend if you manage to get one of these. I get told off if I don't wear a hat, you see, because I have, well, not very good hair at the moment, you see. So at least if I wear a hat, it looks slightly better. Really pleased with that. Yeah, like I say, it's you know, if you've ended up with one of these at the end of Saturday, you know you've had a good day. So yeah, we know the big points are enough for tomorrow, as you could, you know, as we always know. So very good. It feels superb, as it does every weekend. So as Team Virtue, honestly, we've done a fantastic job. The summer break's been really good for us to get on top of everything and just refine everything that's been good with us so far. So yeah, very good place.
Well, it was pretty good at the tail end of the first half of the season. So what, when you say get on top of, what have you done? Have you where have you?
We've lost Louise for a moment. We'll try and get back to the pit lane for Louise and Tom Ingram, and indeed anybody else that she might be able to have a word with. So a good job done by Tom Ingram. That margin in the end, 0.267, and 5 of the 6 all covered by just under a second here at Croft. So with the 3 parts of qualifying now all done, we can put together a provisional order. And Tom Ingram the fastest, and he will start on pole. From Dan Camish, second row going to be Mikey Doble and Tom Chilton, ahead of the Dans, Rowbottom and Lloyd. Aaron Taylor-Smith 7th from Senna Proctor, Charles Rainford, and 10th on the grid tomorrow for race 1 will be Daryl De Leon. Ash Sutton 11th ahead of Adam Morgan. Good effort by Dexter Patterson in fairness. 13th ahead of Chris Smiley, James Dorlin and then Aidan Moffat. There's a rather frustrated Gordon Shedden down at 17th ahead of Sam Osborne. Stephen Jelly's first outing for Unlimited Motorsport nets 19th ahead of his teammate Nick Hamilton. 21st, newcomer Max Buxton, and he outpaces Nick Halstead in the second of those motor parts direct with Power Max Racing Vauxhall Astras. So this is Tom Ingram in replay, having a look at some of his cemetery in that qualifying session, and a very happy man indeed when he got out of the car. Right, let's try again. Louise, here's one you prepared earlier.
Yes, take two. Take two. Sorry about that. What were we saying before we were so rudely interrupted by the cameras going down? Basically, you were just telling us about little tweaks that you've been making to the car over the summer break.
Exactly that. My interview must have been so boring, even the camera fell asleep. Tweaks, little bits and pieces. You can never find one massive area in these cars. It's always a lot of small bits and pieces. So, you know, we really just refine it a lot of the time. And you know what? A lot of the time over the summer break is actually spent rebuilding spares and making sure all your spares packages are full on, because it's been so full on the first half of the year with back-to-back weekends that we deplete our spares seemingly quite quickly, especially when we drive into each other. So it's been good to sort of just get on top of that, and I think we've worked hard on making sure that we're as fast as we can be on Saturday to give ourselves the best chance of a good result on Sunday.
Good stuff. We look forward to seeing how you get on in race one tomorrow. And let's bring in the man who's going to be starting alongside you on the front row, top Yorkshireman. Both things definitely worth having here at Croft, aren't they?
I didn't hear any of that, Louise. I'm going to guess what you said, which is that went well, which it did. P2. Shame it's this man who keeps pipping me. We're right up there in the sort of qualifying award. I think we're first and second. Tom's just pipped me to that. So, but yeah, a good day. I mean, I was P nowhere after practice, same as I was last year. Actually, it just shows. I think around here it's such a tyre circuit. You know, when you actually bolt on that fresh rubber, the car just comes alive, and you know, it just gives you a lot of confidence then going through the sessions when you see that actually the car is there, and the driver's also just about turned up as well when it matters. So yeah, another strong qualifying. Home fans in Yorkshire. So yeah, let's see what we can do tomorrow. And
more importantly, well, not more importantly, but as importantly as it turned out today, not only quick laps but clean laps as well, because so many people getting pinged for track limits. It doesn't count, does it? If you know, it's all about keeping it clean as well as being fast.
It is. I got you know, an actual pole lap taken off me here in 2020, I think, in the wet. The home advantage didn't work that time. So yeah, it's one of those circuits. You know, we are trialling sort of this new track limit where we're taking away a lot of the circuit furniture. It's working, but it's certainly difficult. We sit so low in these cars. I think, you know, we get a bit of an unfair rep that we're constantly off the track. You should come and sit where we are and then see how easy it is. You know, some of these apexes, the chicane is a good example. It's not real. It's kind of a straight line. So if you've got no furniture to kind of check where you are, it's very easy to get it wrong. So I've erred on the side of caution this afternoon, and ultimately that's been worth it. There might be a tiny bit more time, but equally there's a much bigger loss if you do get caught. So thankfully we've got through clean, and you know, I look forward to see what comes tomorrow. Well,
I presume caution gets thrown to the wind tomorrow once the racing gets going. You've won here a few years ago. How tricky is it going to be to beat this man tomorrow?
I think the word impossible is quite big, but I mean, look, you know, this thing is just a different league, I think, at the moment. You know, I don't know what lap time Ash did. But when you're 6 or 7 tenths or something quicker than Ash Sutton, and you know, with only 2 seconds more, that's an incredibly quick car. And we saw that at Ulton. If he gets off in the lead, you know, it'll be difficult. So I've got to get my big boy points, and I've, you know, race, you know, first lap, race 1. I need to make that, you know, my blue and yellow as big in his mirror as I possibly can, and see if I can get something done. The thing is, you know, it's usually got. I imagine by the time we get to Tower, it'll already have a decent lead. But let's see. You know, I've really got to have a go with him if I want any chance of snatching the win tomorrow. We'll see you out there tomorrow with your big boy pants on. And let's go and grab a word with the man who was, during that session, been awarded by the guys. It's an unofficial title, but outperformer of the season. I mean, yet again, you've really pulled it out the bag here.
Yeah, I mean, we really built into that session. I wasn't feeling great in Q1, you know, the car wasn't quite where I wanted it, and just overall didn't really feel like we had the speed, so I was lucky to get through Q1. We made a little adjustment to the car for Q2 and it made it better. And I just thought, let's just get the best out of what we got, and I know that it will be good enough to be somewhat there or thereabouts. I didn't think we quite had the pace for pole, but you know, P3, best qualifying of the year and another quick 6, so.
I don't know whether you, as I was walking up the pit lane to come here to Parc Fermé, I walked past all of the team that you will have driven past to get up here as well. Did you get a chance to see the looks on their faces and how much it means to them?
Yeah, everyone, you know, from both cars, you know, they're all applauding, you know, because it's a real team effort. It's a bit of a cliche, but these guys really do dedicate their whole lives and time to working on this car, and everyone that's helped me get to where we are, my family and sponsors and the team. It's just brilliant. And another quick six, we're in a great position for tomorrow, so be looking for some more trophies. Gone a bit dry on that front recently.
That's the important. What's going to make the difference tomorrow? Because as you say, it's one thing doing it in qualifying. It's during the races that counts. What do you think is going to make the difference in terms of bringing home the trophy?
We just need to string the day together. We've had too many meetings this year where we've had the pace, but whether it be a bit of unreliability, some contact, just haven't strung the 3 races together. And I believe if we can just be a little bit more clinical, get off the line and have a clean first race, I think that we can be in the top 5 all day. And that's, I feel like, with the pace we got, it's where we should be. So.
Good stuff. I look forward to it. We will see you out there. See you tomorrow. Back to you guys.
Louise, thanks very much. So, a really interesting session as ever. Well done, Mikey Doble, Dan Camish, Tom Ingram, the top 3 in that reverse order then, going into the first race of the day tomorrow. We will be on ITV4 tomorrow morning from 11:30 from Croft. Busy day of racing with not only, of course, 3 races of the Quick Fit British Touring Car Championship, but the Mini Challenge. We also have Porsche Carrera Cup GB, and the Legends are back in town this weekend as well. They've got 3 races today, they've got 3 races tomorrow, and we'll bring you all of that drama. So, great day of racing to kick off the second half of the British Touring Car Championship season. We'll see you tomorrow, but for now, from Louise Goodman, Tim Harvey and David Addison, it's goodbye.